This happened when I was 17 years old, during my first semester at a boarding school deep in the woods. I never told anyone what really happened there, because no one would have believed me. But sometimes, late at night, I still hear that same ticking sound in my head, the one that never stopped. I still remember the drive up to Westmere Academy, the road winding through miles of pine forest until the world seemed to disappear behind mist. The car tires hissed over wet gravel. The air smelled of moss and iron. My parents said this boarding school had character. That word still makes me uneasy. They left quickly, hugging me at the gate and vanishing down the road before I could protest. The building looked beautiful in a postcard way, brick arches, ivy crawling up the walls, but there was a stillness, like the whole place was holding its breath. Inside, portraits of former headmasters lined the hall. Their painted eyes followed me as I walked past. Every clock ticked differently, some fast, some slow. One in the entryway struck midnight, though the sun was still out. The headmistress met me at the office door. "Welcome to Westmere," she said, her smile too wide, too still. Behind her, a grandfather clock ticked 3 times, even though its hands were frozen. My dorm room smelled faintly of dust and rain. My roommate, Daniel, barely looked up from his book. "You're the new one," he said flatly. "Try not to wander at night." I laughed, thinking it was a joke. Later, when the lights went out, I heard footsteps above my ceiling. The next floor was the attic, locked for years, according to the welcome brochure. At 2 a.m., a glow moved beneath my door, like someone walking by with an old lantern. The light paused, and a whisper brushed through the crack. My name, very softly, drawn out like breath. I didn't sleep after that. Classes were ordinary enough at first. Or maybe they only seemed that way because everyone acted as if nothing was wrong. The teachers talked in perfectly measured tones, repeating the same phrases every morning. "Time is a circle. Focus on your studies." I thought it was some philosophical motto until I realized they meant it literally. By the 4th day, I knew something was off. My alarm rang at the same time. The same notification pinged on my phone. And outside the window, the same bird landed on the same branch. Lunch was tomato soup, again. The cafeteria smelled identical, and even the laughter from the next table played like a looped recording. I checked the date. Monday, September 12th. It had been Monday, September 12th for days. I asked Daniel if he noticed. He frowned. "What are you talking about?" It's Tuesday. When I showed him my phone, his screen also said Monday. He stared for a moment, then blinked twice and said, "Anyway, did you finish the math assignment?" As if the moment had been erased from his memory. That evening, I went to the courtyard. The fog rolled in from the forest, swallowing the lamps one by one. I saw silhouettes, students standing perfectly still in the rain, facing the woods. None of them moved. I shouted, but they didn't answer. When lightning flashed, they vanished. The next morning, no one mentioned a storm. "Clear skies last night," the teacher said cheerfully. Yet muddy footprints led from the courtyard to our dorms. I thought I was losing it. I tried journaling to keep track of time, but every morning my notes were gone, replaced by blank pages except for one line in my own handwriting. Stop counting the days. A week, or maybe an hour later, I found something behind the library shelves. A loose tile near the floor revealed a metal ring. When I pulled it, the ground opened onto a narrow staircase, spiraling down into darkness. Cold air breathed up from below, thick with the smell of damp paper and iron. I told myself I wouldn't go down, but curiosity always wins before fear catches up. The steps seemed endless. The deeper I went, the louder the ticking became, as though hundreds of clocks were buried in the walls. My flashlight caught glints of brass frames, portraits of students from decades past, their smiles too identical to be real. Beneath each was a small plaque, Class of 1999, the year that never happened. The floor opened into a wide chamber filled with desks. Dust floated through the air like snow. On every desk lay an open notebook, all in the same slanted handwriting. I lifted one. Every page read the same sentence over and over. "We're still here." Then I saw it. The last desk in the row had a notebook with my name embossed on the cover. Inside were pages describing everything I'd done since arriving, word for word, even what I was doing now. The last line wasn't finished. It ended mid-sentence. He looks up and sees. A noise cut through the silence. Breathing, not mine. I turned my flashlight toward the staircase. Something pale shifted in the dark, moving slow, deliberate, almost human but not quite. I ran, stumbling up the steps. When I reached the top, the library wasn't there anymore. The door opened into another hallway, identical to the one I'd left, but all the windows showed night, though moments earlier it had been day. Every door led back to the same corridor. I screamed, pounded on walls, but sound died in the air. Finally, a bell rang 3 times. The next thing I remember, I was in class again. The teacher smiled. "Monday, September 12th, she said. I tried to leave the campus. The gates were open, yet every path circled back to the main building. The forest rearranged itself. Trees stood in new positions, branches forming arches that led me back. Even my footprints changed direction. Daniel began acting strange. He'd vanish for hours, return with blank eyes, muttering, 3 ticks, 3 turns, reset. I confronted him one night. He said he dreamed of a basement where time was frozen, and everyone waited for the next loop. When he woke up, it was Monday again. Then he smiled and said, "We're not students, you know." With the memory, I started noticing versions of myself in reflections. One older, one wearing clothes I didn't own. They'd move a second slower than I did, sometimes looking directly at me. Once, in the window glass, my reflection mouthed words I hadn't spoken. "Don't go back down there." I stopped sleeping. I stopped trying to understand. At some point, the line between night and morning disappeared completely. There was only the ticking, always behind the walls, steady and patient. Then, one morning, the headmistress called an assembly. Her voice echoed strangely, like 2 recordings overlapping. "Class of 2025, she said, you will now join our tradition. Time at Westmere is eternal." Behind her, the clock struck 12 times, though it had no hands left. Everyone clapped in perfect rhythm. I went back to the basement. I had to. The stairs seemed shorter this time, as if the school wanted me there. The notebooks were gone, replaced by stacks of clocks, all stopped at different moments. At the center stood the headmistress, holding one in her hands. "You've done well," she said softly. "Every year, someone remembers." "That's how we keep the year alive," I demanded, to know what she meant. She smiled. 1999 was the last real year. When the accident happened, time here broke. We rebuild it every loop, using memory as mortar. She handed me the clock. Its second hand jerked once, then froze. "Now it's your turn to remember." I threw the clock, and everything shattered. Sound, air, light. I woke in my bed, sunlight pouring through the window. For a second, relief. Then I looked at my phone. Monday, September 12th. My roommate walked in, smiling the same smile. "You're the new one, right? Try not to wander at night. I've stopped fighting it. The days blend together. The clocks never move. Sometimes new students arrive, confused, hopeful, just like I was. We greet them, guide them through classes, play our parts. When the bell rings, I hear the headmistress whisper somewhere deep below, 3 ticks, 3 turns, reset. Occasionally, I glimpse versions of myself through classroom windows, some older, some younger, walking the same hallways endlessly. I think one of them finally found a way out, but maybe that's just another loop, pretending to be hope. If you ever drive through the woods and find a school built of red brick, with ivy crawling up its face, don't stop. Don't take the brochure. And if you do go inside, check your phone before you unpack. If the date reads Monday, September 12th, run. Leave the clocks alone. Some years are never meant to happen. Sometimes, late at night, I still hear the ticking, even though I'm sure I left the school years ago. Or maybe I never did.